cool. It's so edgy and badass. I got a lot of suggestions from you guys to check out this particular review for Mandalore. I think a lot of you guys said it was one of your favorite reviews, or that it was hilarious or something like that. I don't know anything about this game. I never heard about it before. Reading through the description, as well as when the game initially released, being released in 2004 and getting a PC port in 2020, that sounds pretty interesting. That's a very long time for a PC port, but maybe it's a beloved classic. Or maybe it's just a really weird game, and I'm gonna get another headache again once we finish this review. We'll see. But of course, before we get into the reaction, as somebody who also enjoys reaction content, let's all make sure to go and support the OG video. Link to that is at the very top of the description, as always.
It's the...
Whoa. Okay, he's just there. We are literally on the Crusades, as per the name.
I'm sure there are people out there who thought this game was...
Whoa, what is this? What's going on here? We have levels on our scouts, longbows, and cavalry. Is this like a total war game? The UI is not as complex though. Maybe more so an RTS?
Kingdom Under Fire: The Crusaders is a tactical RTS, action, hack and slash, RPG, something that was not...
Oh my god. Okay. It is a mix of many things, and so it is its own thing. I've never seen a game quite like this before, so it'll be interesting.
Xbox exclusive in 2004. Then, 16 years later, it got an official PC port. Better late than never, huh? This is a very basic port because, yeah, you can technically play with mouse and keyboard now, but that's like saying technically you can skip work if you light yourself on fire. I mean, you could, but this is a game you play with a controller. The only fancy new visuals are that you can turn up your shadow resolution. By just starting a game, you are treated to a huge amount of lore. That's because Crusaders is a sequel. So while I'd wager most people know this game and Heroes, I'm gonna go over the weird road this franchise has taken. In 2001, we've got Kingdom Under Fire: A War of Heroes. It didn't sell well in the West, but did very good in Korea. That could be because this game and the entire franchise is Korean. What's clear is that A War of Heroes desperately wanted to be a Blizzard game. It tried to combine both Warcraft and Diablo, and it wasn't so good at that. It also started with a huge lore dump, and combining the mistranslations and weird writing, a lot of finer details will become borderline incomprehensible. The Shrek storybook in Crusaders does cover the big point. There was a war between good and evil, and a mysterious relic called the Ancient Heart. If you see the heart, or touch the heart, or think about the heart, you turn evil.
A lot of this setup is starting to remind me of Myth. That was a really good series of games. Unknown to any man till then, the demon's possession, Ancient Heart, turned anyone who saw, touched, discovered, or even spoke of it into a follower of evil. I'm sure that we're going to have some accusations of heresy being thrown around here. And I wonder if we're going to have a similar twist, where perhaps this ancient heart of evil isn't really evil and we're just being fed lies. I'm sure both you and I have played plenty of games out there where there is the church, but they're also represented as not being the greatest people out there, so we might go down that route in this game too.
How the fuck do you beat that? Apparently the answer is God gets really pissed off and gets rid of it. So where the battle and heart smiting took place is now known as the Holy Ground. Okay, but quick side note, the Ancient Heart also resurrected and created this world's version of Sauron. We've had Kmart Sauron, actual Sauron, now make way for Baywatch Sauron. The Overlord
Baywatch Sauron. I wonder if this is footage from his Lord of the Rings review. That is something I should probably check out sooner rather than later. I know a lot of you guys wanted me to see that one too. I think it was like an RTS Lord of the Rings game.
Lord of the Dark Legion is Rick Blood. Master of the Orcs in Darkness, Rick.
Rick Blood? What? The freaking design and name is so metal.
Heroes is mainly generic fantasy.
They lived together peacefully for many prosperous centuries, until the day a great evil arose.
So when the first game is like this, it makes Crusaders so much stranger. You go from a typical old man talking about the Magic Kingdom, to I'm desperately trying to find the outhouse at a Metallica cover band venue.
Nani? What? Imagine if Lord of the Rings had heavy metal music like this. I have no idea where this is going, but I think this is beautiful. in a cool and edgy way. Yeah!
That's a bold new direction, and as I'll talk about soon, they kind of pulled it off. But we're not done yet. With its mix of strategy and action and constant metal music, I don't get Blizzard clone out of this like I did with the War of Heroes. Instead, it's we believe the Weigugin will find this hardcore. Also, we're really gunning for the badass seal of approval this year. And maybe the year after, because then they released a follow-up just called Kingdom Under Fire Heroes, which is basically the same game but with some new campaigns and refinements.
This almost feels like Muso gameplay in a way. Maybe it's closer to that than it is an actual RTS.
This one's gonna come up again. On 360, they made Kingdom Under Fire Circle of Doom, which removed the RTS elements entirely to make it a hack and slash.
Oh, there we go.
This didn't go over well, but you could play as a crying elf girl who could kill enemies with her tears.
What? That is amazing! This is so awesome! God, why have I never heard of these games before? If they make a character like that, then you already know that they know exactly what they're going for. And they're loving every single second of it.
I have no clue. So for Kingdom Under Fire 2, let's bring back the RTS
awesome
stuff
idea.
And make it an MMO. I'm gonna level with you. I have no idea what's going on in the series.
What the heck?
So if something weird in Crusaders is explained somewhere...
Wait, they made an MMO out of this?
Fire 2, let's bring back the RTS stuff and make it an MMO.
An RTS MMO. I have never heard of anything like that before, but well, there you go. How would it work? Has anybody played this? If you guys have, let me know. Was it fun?
So if something weird in Crusaders is explained somewhere else, I probably won't know about it. They tried to sell this as mainly standalone, and we'll see how they did. Going back to the intro, the game's premise looks...
Well, I wonder if this is more so a thing where, like, the developers are just experimenting with many different avenues or ideas that they have. I don't know who exactly developed these games, but with the massive shift in genres, they're really trying to tie things into their core, like, world, their universe that they created. Maybe to appeal to several different audiences?
Pretty simple.
Don't believe me? I'll show you. Check out these delts.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, God.
What?
This reeks of the Hex.
The voice acting is peak.
Gerald, we must go. Essa needs to be warned.
Wait! Look!
Oh my god. Yes.
Swing away, boys!
Just swipe out the enemy.
Swing away, boys. Every single time somebody says swing away, I think of the movie Signs. It was actually a really good horror movie, alien movie, very suspenseful. But as I've said, I've never seen anything quite like this. With these sort of characters in this type of setting, with this camera movement and music, I'd actually be kind of down to see an entire movie that was filmed like this in this era with this, cinematography.
After the lore dump, you have two campaigns to choose between. The human soldier Gerald, who is basically tutorial man, and Lucy, the dark elf of the Dark Legion.
Oh my.
By beating hers, you unlock a hard campaign for each faction. The hard campaigns do expect a lot more out of you compared to the base ones. It is weird that almost half the game is just preparing you for hard. It does try to ease you into the experience, but it almost goes too slowly. Gerald's missions can be so leisurely that they're basically a different game compared to Kendall's, but I'll get into that in a bit. Visually, Crusaders does some impressive things for an Xbox title. It blows my mind how many characters you can have on screen fighting at once. This was later in the console's life cycle, so they've gotten pretty good at optimizing it, but wow.
That's cool. I never owned an Xbox, so I'm not entirely sure what its capabilities are, but I know that there were plenty of amazing games that released on the console. And I suppose for the time that it came out, yeah, these kind of graphics with these many characters doing things all at the same time could be pretty taxing on any system.
It does look like the draw distance was improved for PC, but even in the immediate area, it's an intense amount of action. A lot of maps are still drowning in fog. It's not as short as something like Morrowind, but it's a less detailed world. It basically had to be to make this many characters work. Even with that, there were some times where I thought the fog added mystique to a level. The forest becomes ominous, a giant creature looks like something straight out of the...
Yo, yeah, I was gonna say, no! Mandalore, why did you steal my reference? Which, by the way, if you guys haven't seen The Mist, go and watch it. Don't look up anything about it, just watch it.
I still wish they bumped it up more for the PC version, but it has its moments. Bad ones too, because the terrain generally is barren, and all the trees and rolled objects don't look nice either and will mainly get in your way.
That is unfortunate, but I mean, there's got to be a trade-off. They have to do these things in order to make the game work. But I think if the core gameplay loop is solid, then yeah, people can still have fun even in this barren world. But just imagine what a title like this could do nowadays. I mean, Total War is pretty damn impressive, and if we had something on that level, but with this sort of gameplay, I don't know. I'd stream that.
Sometimes there are more filled-in areas, but the biggest battles will never be here. The more a map looks like the Gobi Desert, the better chance you have of getting a big fight. The units themselves are good models for an RTS game. All of the officers and named characters also get some extra detail. Ironically, it's the cutscenes where the weaknesses really show up because they put the camera right in their faces, while they're just doing their flap breathing animation thing.
Yeah. If only Serbia was here to talk about it, but I do know from conversations with them that whenever you have these close-up shots of the 3D models, they're usually of the characters that you can clearly tell they paid more attention to because, you know, they have to have a lot of beauty shots. And so those characters will, for the most part, have a lot more details on them, maybe be a bit more over-designed than other characters, because it just makes the shot look really good. But here you can tell this is basically just an in-game cinematic, which, you know, for the times, I think it was okay. Like, it's passable. And it's crazy to think how far technology has advanced ever since then. Because, well, I don't know if any of you guys play Wuthering Waves, but there are some cinematics in there that are just straight up in-game cinematics that you can technically interact with that look downright impressive, like they were rendered.
They can look like nightmare people, which I don't think was the intention. Still, there is some unique art direction to be found. For once, the Forces of Good got most of the varied and more interesting designs.
Oh, finally, dude. Honestly, though, it looks kind of evil, but even then, it still gives off an air of nobleness. They're just extremely battle ready, like overly so. It's been a while since I've read the manga, but I could potentially see a design like this being worn by a knight from Berserk. Also, the dragon helmet there on the bottom left is really cool. If I could choose a suit of armor to wear, I'd probably pick that regardless of the actual functionality of it. This armor in the middle reminds me of a set from Monster Hunter, actually. Wouldn't it be great, though, if a lot more of these fantasy games incorporated some of the ideas that Monster Hunter has for its pretty unique armor sets?
The Dark Legion mostly has similar flavors of orc. There's green, greener, undead. The Dark Elves don't have much variation either.
Oh my.
Which, you know, I give him a pass. The true big issue
I give
is
it a
the
pass
camera.
too.
It was mainly a huge issue in Gerald's campaign, but that could be because his had the most trees in it. The angles you can have depend on where you are in the map, so even adjusting it, you can still be blocked off. Sometimes the camera wants to be in the stratosphere. Sometimes it wants to dig for worms. Usually it's fine and you don't need to adjust it too much, but it adds randomness and unpredictability in sometimes crucial moments.
The camera controls are always the most frustrating part of any game experience, I would say. Like, I still have yet to play a Dark Souls game, but I would imagine that would be probably the thing that I get the most frustrated at whenever we do start with Elden Ring. And potentially even more so if I went back to play some of the older titles in the series. And honestly, that was probably one of my main complaints when I was playing through the first Kingdom Hearts game. That plus the platforming, which just felt not great.
Sometimes you walk through the woods fine, sometimes you can't see. That said, it's really the sound that stuck out to me. With the exception of the main menu, every single song in the game is metal. I can't stress enough how constant it is. Hearing about the story, mission briefings, the missions, all metal.
I love metal music, so this seems so up my alley. I also love strategy, so hell yeah, dude.
Sappers and catapults are to concentrate on destroying their barricades. The rear line will attack the main enemy forces and give cover to the sappers and catapults.
Bro, I'm not even listening to you. I'm sorry. I'm just rocking out. I'd be there headbanging in the middle of combat. That overview map, though, sort of reminded me of Unicorn Overlord, but metal and less anime, which if you guys haven't tried it, I do recommend it, especially if you're like a Fire Emblem fan. I feel like it's not exactly that, but pretty darn close, and it has the same appeal. Plus, the art style is just gorgeous, and so are the anime waifus.
Now, I'm not a huge metalhead, and I don't know how accurate I can be here. The game does have a lot of music I liked. They were not shy about the soundtrack. They go so big with it that I'm actually shocked there were no songs with lyrics in them. It wouldn't be out of place.
Actually, though, yeah, having some sort of like battle chant Or like maybe even a bit of screamo. I mean, it fits how hectic combat can get, but maybe they didn't want to drown out any sound effects that would otherwise play during the battle.
Move!
Ooh.
This way!
Yeah! I played the game just to listen to the music. Yo! Yo, that is so cool! It's so edgy and badass! Hell yeah!
Take down that fruit.
Oh my god! We really are at a Metallica concert, aren't we?
There are times when it does chill out, but it's not that often. Subjectively, sure I wouldn't listen to heavy metal back-to-back for hours on end, but this could be someone's dream game in that regard. The issue is the rest of the sound.
Ready! Draw!
What? Whoa! Why is the rest of the audio not great? What? Was it just recorded by different people? Did we pay more attention to the music than we did any of the voice lines? That is a damn shame. Considering that RTS games in general, I feel like, are known for having really good voice lines. And they were like some of the first few games where I learned about how there would be recordings of the same line, but just said in a different way depending on the health of the unit that says the line. Like, I thought that was genius, and that was incredibly immersive, and RTS games do that. So when you have an RTS that doesn't have great voice lines, yeah, I would say it's pretty noticeable. At least to me it is.
For the Xbox, this game has some really fucked up audio compression. Even after fiddling with audio sliders, the mixing is just terrible. But the worst part is when a fight is over.
Good. We got him.
Oh my god, it's fucking Lego!
The cheering overlaps per troop unit, and if you lose in a fight like this, oh my god.
Holy shit!
Your waveform becomes a solid wall.
What? They're just out to destroy your earbuds. My goodness.
It's time to fucking start over again. To add an extra layer of madness, it's only a sometimes deal. The actual battle soundscape is perfectly fine. There can be low-quality effects that stick out as being bad, but they're not grating. Even the victory cheers will often sound normal.
Scorpion.
How it's
Love
layered is still bad, but you're not expecting an attack. So the issue is you have constant, pretty average to subpar battle sounds, combined with an occasional nuclear strike in your ears.
The effects of the Dark Elf moving through the battlefield are really freaking cool. I love the added detail there. It just makes it look like she's moving at faster than the speed of light or something like that.
And the whole time, metal music is playing. The music does come together with the action sometimes, and it's very cathartic. But the game is such a noise hurricane, I can only play it in bursts. Oh right, the voice acting.
Look at the sun. If there truly is a god, he is on our side today.
I don't know if I could do a better job at voice acting for these games, but I'd give it a crack. I think a lot of things would be better than simply just reading the line as it is.
Now this will be the last briefing for today's mission, so listen well.
Have you ever seen hogs do anything right the first time? Ever? Now see to it! What did you
What is that
do in
voice?
the war? I babysat pigs, that's what. This sucks. Gerald.
This sucks. Bro, this review is hilarious. Thank you for suggesting it. I'm loving every second of it. Both how awesome it is and how janky it is at the same time.
I object to leaving our border post to attend mass at Youngsburg.
Well, it's orders, and we live to serve.
At first I thought that was a glitch, but no.
Insulting this insulting god.
Oh, I thought Mandalore was the one cutting that out for some reason. I thought maybe like YouTube didn't want any mention of that because of certain events that might happen in the game. I wonder if this is like a bug of the audio file, or if this is intentional and there's some sort of lore reason to it.
The Cadus would lead to the holy ground, and the full army...
They're censoring the word Pope by just cutting the audio. What? He's a major player too, so this is bizarre. It does explain why you can't turn off the subtitles or else you'd miss part of the story. Characters will also say capital G God, but the captions change it to the God lowercase. It'll mess up sentence structure too, like someone had just used Control F for the script. This is clearly some last-minute censorship. And for everything people could get on the Catholic Church for, just mentioning the Pope, maybe a few hundred years ago in some select cities, but not in 2004. South Korea did and still does have a significant Christian population there, so I thought maybe they were pushing the boundary of some kind of local law, but no. From what I've found, at the last second the developers were terrified that including the Pope would offend Westerners. You can't exactly remove him from the story at this point when he's so integral, so they clipped all audio mentioning him, and in subtitles he's just the patriarch.
What the Would Western audiences get offended by mention of the Pope? Considering how many video games I play that don't censor it and actively make them evil? I don't think so. But maybe at the time, and I mean, I'm sure there's probably some devout Christians out there who would be offended, but like, would that really be your audience? In a matter of speaking, no matter what you do, there's gonna be somebody who's offended by it. There's probably people that are clearly offended by my very existence for no particular reason, but that's just how it is. And also, apologies if you could hear the rain in the background. I'm not sure how much of it is going through the microphone, but it is a bit of a thunderstorm outside at the moment.
Boy, if only they knew where things would be so soon. Anyway, the PC release also included the option for the original Korean voice acting, which seems way better technically and delivery-wise.
For this we have been bled white. Soldiers, behold, the holy ground.
우리가 흘린 피에 대한 보상이다. 제군들, 보라! 드디어 성지다!
Still, I don't want to be getting into the story just yet.
Bro, that is a really cool image for a game like this. You wouldn't expect something like that. But also, the Korean voice acting, I would say, is a lot better. At least when it comes to conveying the emotions of the characters. I've had some people argue that you can't judge how good voice acting is if you don't understand the language that is being spoken. But personally, I would disagree with that. I feel like regardless of whether or not you can understand exactly what they're saying, you can still feel the emotion that is being conveyed through their speech. But I would be curious, for those of you watching this video, what do you think about that topic? Can you judge whether voice acting is good or not, despite not understanding the language that is being spoken?
Despite all of its many, many faults, the gameplay is worth talking about. By using your right stick, you control the direction and the range your troops move in. By holding a shoulder button, you can expand the minimap and move your forces that way. You can move all your forces at once, or cycle through them for individual orders. There is a learning curve to this, and it does explain the slowness of Gerald's campaign. Despite first impressions, there is a shocking amount of depth. For one, with the triggers you can change the formations of most units. Putting your soldiers in wider formations allows them to move and turn faster. A tight-knit formation can make a unit sneakier and harder to see. If they have shields, they're better at covering each other from arrows. Each has benefits and drawbacks, and you can be adjusting these almost as much as you're moving your army.
Yeah, this is really cool. This is basically Total War, but just from a different angle, with slightly different gameplay. Still the same fundamentals though. And the rain is getting pretty heavy out there, so I think I'm going to pause it here and then I'll come back and record the rest of this when the rain stops, so maybe a weird cut. Jump cut! To the future!
However, not every unit uses these formations. In the case of archers, the triggers control how wide or narrow their shots go. If your enemy's position isn't clear or you're fighting from extreme range, you need to make guesses on how you should be shooting. Or, you can send a smaller force or a deployable scout ahead to act as a spotter. Then
I think I did something similar to this when I used to play Men of War Assault Squad 2 with some of my friends. I would send like a singular unit ahead to go and hide in a bush or something near the enemy base so that I could direct my howitzers at the right person to shoot at.
You can get the exact bombardment width you need. Also take into account the position of your ranged units, where they are relative to the enemy, is the sun in their eyes, is anything in their way?
Oh, interesting. Ah, that's really cool. So the weather, the terrain, the direction of the sun, potentially the wind too. Just some really neat details that I thought were going to be in Warhammer 3, and I guess the game already is complex enough, so we don't really need that. But it's cool to see that there is a game with it.
There's a lot of good tactical gameplay to be had, and not all units can be set to attack and forget. With cavalry, you don't want to move them onto the enemy, but instead move through them. They'll barrel through weaker troops and can take out a formation without taking a scratch. You could micro them around for max effectiveness, or set some waypoints in a busy area and hope for the best. Though again, you've got to be thinking carefully. Are there anti-cavalry units in the area? Where a good charge can delete a unit, a bad charge into them can have your own wiped out. So if you're quick and clever enough, you can bait fast movers into spears that they can't turn away from easily. Or in the case of the Dark Legion, the anti-horse throwing axes. Not everything will add up sometimes, it's fine.
Must have an orc for a tailor.
Again, these are just some maneuvering examples. In battle, you have a resource called SP, which might be special points, I don't think they say. But you earn it through general combat and victories, and gain more by pulling off tactical maneuvers. You can then spend these Sun Tzu points on unit abilities. Human archers can use fire arrows to burn down forests and enemy positions. Contrast with Dark Elf archers who can make magic arrows for extra damage. Or summon a magic fancy tree of healing, because of course they do that.
Oh, so yeah, it's like a Total War where you slowly accumulate the winds of magic and then you can release powerful abilities and whatnot. All of this just sounds really good. It sounds extremely up my alley. There is still some jank there, but you can already see the vision that the developers had for this game.
There are sappers who can place Burmese tiger pits, landmines, and other toys from the Viet Cong fun box to bait enemies into, though they can also go on anti-trap duty themselves. And sometimes units are led by officers who know magic, so sometimes you send out a blizzard or plunge your enemy into darkness. So while all of this is happening, how does the action hack and slash kick-assing fit into it? It's a tricky situation. It's deceptive because at first it seems undercooked and just kind of bad, when instead it's well thought out, but it doesn't show in the first stages of the game. When a unit led by your hero engages the enemy, the game shifts over into action mode. Both squads engage on their own and you can personally run around slapping people. Each campaign only has one controllable hero. Gerald is your basic sword fight man. I can't say anything bad because I make guys just like him in most RPGs. He hits with a big sword, blocks with a big sword, and hates the orcs.
Oh, this fried hog. All we need now is some scrambled eggs.
Lucretia of the Dark Legion is all about speed and anime bullshit. She can't block, but she can dodge. She likes—
Bro, everybody out here is playing like a 3D fighter. She's playing an anime air dasher. I love that they play differently though. I mean, they kind of have to, right? Right? You gotta. But then what happens during these sections where like you're controlling your guy, but what about the rest of your army? Do they just go on auto, or do you simply just focus on this and everything that's happening around you is inconsequential until you leave this game mode?
Bullying her ex-boyfriend.
That's my Lucy.
Don't call me Lucy, you gigolo.
Kendall is a slower powerhouse warrior. He carries a mason halberd and is a loyal servant of the Pope. When he wins fights, he's already looking for the next heretic.
Damn it, Mandalore. Not you too.
To smash. Rainier is the Dark Lord of Hexter. He has an evil sword and loves running around in a loincloth in World of Warcraft pauldrons.
Yeah.
He parries by using the Force and is rumored to be Rick Blood. Of course he's Rick Blood.
I am Rick Blood.
The characters have different fighting styles, but calling what they have movesets would be generous. You have your light and strong attacks and maybe 2 or 3 unique combos per character. They also have a special execution move that does more damage but costs SP. If the hero's unit has officers in it, they can also spend SP to use the unique officer assist attack. These can be helpful, but they're things you've usually picked out far before the battle started. You never have something like a duel with another unique character. You can try to find the enemy unit's officer and kill them. If you pull it off, morale shatters and the squad disintegrates. Certain characters are much better at this. Lucy takes a while, Baywatch Sauron can one-shot them. Usually though, half the challenge is finding the leaders.
Yeah, this is kind of like sending Archaon at the enemy leader and having him duel it out. Archaon's gonna win, so the enemy army's morale just collapses. Super easy. Even easier when the AI is dumb enough to just send their commander out front first.
Since they don't always stand out. They can often look identical to regular soldiers, and you can only pick one out when you whack one and a health bar pops up. Summed up, there's not a lot of depth to the action mode, which reasonably you might have been expecting more out of, because the Dynasty Warriors in the room is very focused on pulling—
Yeah, there it is. I was saying earlier, it feels very much like a Muso game in these sections. And I think in these games, now, granted, I've never played a Muso game. I've just seen gameplay, but I believe in some of them you can control where your other units are going towards, or like set a waypoint for them to head towards while you control your guy.
Off combos and special moves. And first, looking at Crusaders, you might expect it to be a Dynasty Warriors clone. The combat here is simpler, but it's because the developers didn't want you stuck too far into it. You still have your troops to cycle back to. Instead of staying completely in the fight, you send out a cavalry charge, or move your archers behind the enemy. Both tactics and pure Unga Bunga hits reward you with SP, which you can use on either.
Oh, no. Okay, I see. So you can swap out of this mode in order to go back and control your army. That's really cool, actually. You're there, you're experiencing the fight, and you're personally seeing what your tactics are changing. You might be losing a fight, but then you swap out of the mode and send a cavalry charge straight into the back of the enemy army, and then all of a sudden it just turns around for you. These are some really neat ideas, actually.
So you could pull off a flank with archers, but then go right back into action mode to pull off an assist move. Crusaders really is about strategy more than anything, and this is reflected by the other side of the game, which is battle preparation. As you win missions, you're awarded with golden experience. Again, this is tied to your SP levels, so the bigger your brain, the more you gain. Your squads all have a level, but it's determined by the leading officer, so experience is spent on them, but really it goes through the whole unit. Which at first seems odd, but there is a good reason for this. As long as a unit has the required skills, it can convert into another one freely. An officer could lead spearmen in one mission and then use mortars in the next. Your leaders will be specialized for only a few types, but you do have some flexibility. Due to action mode, your campaign hero is always stuck with a melee unit, but for their underlings, you can adjust all kinds of things around. You could focus on a troop type or unlock a magic specialization.
Bro, the level of customization here is very nice. You can build your army the way that you want to. Man, every single thing that Mandalore talks about this game just makes me want to play it even more. Unfortunately, considering how old it is, I don't know how well it would run, so kind of unfortunate. But if there's like a modern game that works with a modern PC, with all of these elements, I'd be game. Or maybe it's just because it's been a while since I played Warhammer 3. I kind of miss it, but like if I went back to play it, I wouldn't really get around to any of the other Warhammer games that we're covering.
It's also here you learn that troops are resistant and weak to different damage types. Armored knights get owned by lightning, orcs have an innate weakness to ice, and the undead hate learning about Jesus, which in this setting might be Orc Jesus. I may have missed that part.
Orc Angel?
When you're done with experience, you can use the gold to hire more officers and get more options. How many troops you can deploy is limited, so it's not always ideal. Instead, you're usually buying new equipment, which can have all kinds of bonus effects. These are also level restricted, so there is a balancing act between your skills and your money. Playing your cards right, you can get some absurd min-maxing. Like, what if my hero's unit was virtually immune to melee damage, and was constantly self-healing? If you spend a lot of time in action...
Well, that's the classic Total War build, yeah. Anything with HP regen is just absolutely busted, and you need to get it immediately.
Mode, you could give your heroes something like an elemental weapon. There's a lot to play around with, and to add an extra layer of greatness to the system, the units do physically change based on the upgrades. At first glance, it's easy to see Crusaders as a dumb metal mosh pit, but there's so much behind it. You'll never be controlling a huge amount of units, and some, like flyers, are controlled through the D-pad like an ability. This causes some drawbacks later on. The hard campaigns give you a ton of freedom, but what's...
Yeah, I was wondering how that was going to work, considering the difficulties and the camera. That would have been 100% very janky if they had tried to control it in the same way that you control the ground troops.
What's actually viable is much more limited. Your enemies are far more reactive, and now they cast spells like Merlin has learned he has only a week to live. Later missions become pure endurance. Where healing magic could be incredibly helpful before, you need it now. If you became reliant on abilities instead of movement and formations, that'll really hurt you in these sections. It expects more clever maneuvering from you here than ever before, which is cool and I like that, but it becomes clear a lot of fun options you had before will melt away as the stakes raise. Things can start feeling even more repetitive than they were before. If you like the proper massive battles, there's gonna be a lot of them.
That is the difficulty with, well, raising the difficulty. How do you do it in a way that is engaging to the player still, without it feeling like a slog? The general idea, especially with these kind of games, is certainly to focus more on strategy and formation, bringing the right tools to the right job at the right place. But that does end up cutting out any potential fun options. And so it's just ends up being kind of a downside and being much more formulaic than before. But man, like, balancing out game difficulty just sounds like a nightmare. I'm so glad that I don't have to work on anything like that. I just get to enjoy it whenever they get it right. That being said, I do want to acknowledge that being more formulaic isn't bad. I know that there are definitely some people, maybe even you watching the video right now, who would enjoy something like that just because it amps the difficulty and forces you into this sort of play style. But once again, that just feeds back into how difficult it is to balance a game, because everybody's perception of what a good game difficulty is going to be different, or what they want out of the game too.
So that brings me to the story. The overall points are very simple, but there are finer details I'm not even going to bother to bring up. There's a lot of political details that mainly rely on you knowing about the first game, and other points aren't addressed in this game but instead in Heroes, which is both a prequel and happening at the same time. So the story isn't all here to begin with. Dark elves are ruled by vampires, but there are high elves who want to rebel, but they use the terms interchangeably.
So Haranadin finally falls under this high elf's feet.
Is this not the first time you're leading an army this large, my dark elf?
And look, I don't give a shit. In the campaign map, you can get some story, manage your army, and poke at some lore tidbits. A lot of information can come from eavesdropping at pubs. Gerald's campaign might have the least information here because the pub is full of people complaining about the elves, or as they call them, the Darks.
Boss, Darks are coming from the southwest.
Those Darks planned this all along. Look what those Darks did to our people. You go to bars where...
I certainly appreciate the nuance.
Generic rock plays and overhear people loudly complaining about Darks. This isn't my first rodeo with this. So unfortunate translation aside, that's probably the most interesting thing in Gerald's campaign.
Yeah.
He is the most Xbox game protagonist who wants to wipe out the enemy and get revenge. In retrospect, it's neat, but it's a horribly generic first impression for the campaigns. Lucy's campaign is more entertaining, but also for a dumb reason. Instead of their dialogue being, "We must wipe out the enemy and defeat the evil,"
monkeys,
they argue constantly. They try to bring up the elf political situation, but it's basically a joke. It's like the cast of the Jersey Shore is trying to do a table reading of the Council of Rivendell, but there was a party the night before where everyone cheated on everyone, so they keep breaking character to yell at each other.
No.
They go to meet the Dark Lord of the Orcs, and this is their first reaction.
Rainier has arrived.
Wow. Finally in the flesh. Oh my god, he's ripped.
It does devolve back into dry politics, but good god, it's something. Kendall is also wipe out the enemy man, but he is uncovering something. His campaign takes a dramatic turn, and I would say the exact same thing about Rick Blood's campaign. Both are fighting for control of the Ancient Heart, but something doesn't seem right.
Oh, yeah, I said it. Hey, there's something wrong about the Ancient Heart. That's got to be the crux of the entire story. It is unfortunate, though, that you have to get to these two campaigns before you get into the real juicy stuff, because by this point, you've probably lost the interest of anybody who is here simply for the story. And it goes to the age-old argument of, oh, it gets better after 100 episodes. Oh, once you reach endgame, you'll have fun in this MMO. But then, like, what about any new person who's trying to get into the thing? Like, what is it there for them at the very beginning if just a slog, boring drivel until it finally starts to kick in? You can't get mad at these people for dropping those series, despite how good they may be. These games and these series, they just need better incentive at the start. Something to hook the viewer and then keep their attention afterwards.
Also, the orcs in his pub really just want to farm. Sometimes they want to use the enemy as fertilizer, but they really love farming. And not all of them want to eat man flesh. These are weird orcs. Anyway, if you don't want spoilers, go to here.
I am here to learn about the story, bro. This game is so interesting, not learning about the story would be a shame.
Okay, so remember the village burning in the beginning? That was a false flag attack by other humans. Again, the details...
I see. This kind of reminds me of the beginning of Overlord, the anime.
...are in the next game. The Pope received a vision from God to destroy the Ancient Heart, but so did someone else, a man named Walter. Walter was going to make a secret alliance with Dark Elves who didn't like being ruled by vampires to help him find the heart. As you'd expect, this kind of team-up would be very frowned upon, so they had to do it in secret. A nearby villager saw the meeting and ran home. To keep the secret, Walter and his troops would have to slaughter them all.
Oh, damn. That's super unfortunate. I don't know if they would want to do anything like that, but if it's for the sake of the mission, dang, just like between a rock and a hard place because the villagers saw them. Because I imagine if news of that got out, they would be burned for being heretics, yeah?
This is the first mission of Walter's campaign in Heroes, and it's pretty brutal. As the war...
Oh my god. Bro, actually, we just checked out Mandalore's review on Tyranny, and it was kind of sort of lacking a scene like this. I am surprised, pleasantly surprised, that we're actually getting something like this in this game of all games. But I suppose, since Mandalore hasn't mentioned anything like it yet, and I haven't seen anything that suggests it, that this game did actually finish its development cycle. It wasn't pushed out early or underfunded or anything like that. So yeah, we got the good stuff. I mean, inherently it's very, very bad, but it's good for the player because it makes the story more interesting.
Kicks off, Walter does manage to get the heart, but the Pope for some reason says that Walter has stolen it. So the Pope uses Kendall to try and hunt him down and retrieve it. Kendall does catch up with Walter, but Walter claims the Pope wants to keep the heart for himself. Why would the Pope not want to break what God told him to? In Rick Blood's campaign, it's revealed that the heart has direct control over him. Whoever has it can directly puppet him, so he's trying to find it for himself to stop this. He breaks away from his own homeland.
Oh, and that's the entire reason why he's seeking it. Oh, so he's not like trying to get it to achieve unlimited power. He's trying to break free from its grasp. Bro, does that mean that the Pope is evil? Like, wow. Isn't that surprising? Who could have foreseen this?
And fights everybody on the way to the heart. He's desperate to control his own destiny. In Gerald's campaign, he's just the big evil bad guy. And in a terrible slow-motion cutscene, Rick rolls one of his friends directly into oblivion. But he doesn't slaughter everyone else. Then
Rick rolls his friend directly into oblivion. Mandalore's writing is impeccable.
And despite the efforts of everyone, Walter manages to fulfill God's plan and break the heart, giving a pre-rendered cutscene for the first time in the game.
Oh! Did we release the ancient evil? Or destroy it? That doesn't seem good.
Which god did this vision come from?
Huh. Oh my goodness. Holy shit.
It turns out breaking the heart starts what looks like the Advent. It's kind of a—
Bro, make us whole again. This is awesome. This is so cool. Man, why don't we get games like this anymore? I guarantee you, if they just made this game again for modern PCs, this would sell like hotcakes.
Amazing. Nothing to this point indicated the game would go to this kind of scale. Anyhow, that's when the Demon Swarm begins.
The true enemy. That is horrifying.
The next missions get different.
Yo! Yes!
Your enemy is now an apocalyptic swarm of demons. The world is now threatened by a cosmic horror.
Okay, yeah, so that's what the giant thing that we saw earlier that looked like the giant thing for the mist was. There was always something ominous lurking behind everything, but initially it just seems like your average RTS tactical war thing. No, we're going dark fantasy, we're going Cthulhu mythos. I need a remaster of this game. A remake. A new entry in the series that takes up what this game did and goes even further beyond.
Demons will consume all of life and usher in the Age of Darkness. Without the heart, Baywatch Sauron will slowly become mortal and one day die. He's just as horrified as everyone else.
What have the humans done? This is Encablosa. No!
Poor guy.
Rick Blood initiates peace talks with everyone and unites the world against the threat. He explains that there's a god of light and darkness, but only one can be awake at a time. Whenever the heart deteriorates from the ravages of time, one god awakens and the other goes to sleep. It's actually supposed to be the Age of Darkness, but someone had destroyed the last heart early. So Encablosa, the god of darkness, has successfully tricked his time back. Rick—
Oh, okay. Well, see, my comparison to Myth might not have been that far off, because there was a thing with Myth where there would always be an exchange between an Age of Light and an Age of Darkness. There would be a hero to slay the evil demon lord, and then there would be peace, and then there would be a demon lord, and then the cycle continues.
Blood becomes the hero in uniting the world and says things that I would never imagine from this character design.
I want to return the world to the Age of Light.
Aww.
It's far from the first game to pull out the third faction who's a threat to everyone, but it does it in such an interesting and unexpected way. Generic Xbox man and his heroism are just a pawn for greater schemes. Religion itself is mostly wrong and there are just Lovecraftian elder gods. The immortal Dark Lord figure knows all of this and has been working with it in mind. This story has some fascinating elements, but a lot of execution up until now has been terrible.
Heard you might get promoted soon. Way to go, Lucy.
Yeah, everything leading up to this kind of sucks, but man, if only you had stuck all the way to that, oh, you'd be so glad that you did. But I mean, nowadays, not everybody has the free time to play through a game that is kind of mid when it comes to the story, so that's why these reviews are so important. Most of us might not have ever known this until this review came out. Like, I didn't even know this game existed in the first place.
No thanks to you, dumbass.
While this only happens at the tail end of the hard campaigns, they both have the most torturous final mission possible. It's the same for each, too.
Unfortunate.
Pierce the surface of Encablosa with a flying unit, then conduct a ritual to get inside of it. The camera has generally been better in the hard campaigns, but now, this is all trees. Swarms of demons packed inside a giant forest during a snowstorm. And the map is laid out like a canyon that you need to snake through. If you pull it off, the mission then begins a second part, which is killing the avatar of the Dark God from inside of him. I've gotta say, when I started the game, I did not see things going this way. But Halloween is right around the corner. The K-Berserk mission sucks in a lot of ways. It doesn't feel like an ultimate test of your tactics or anything you learned. Inside the Eclipse is slightly better, but it's a slog of a battle up until then. It is fun blowing up demons with artillery, but they managed to make that get old. I should never be tired of shelling demons.
Yeah, it's kind of sad when a lot of games, especially back in the day, had final levels where they just sent waves and waves of enemies at you. It ended up becoming a slog, like the final mission for Knights of the Old Republic, the first one. I felt like there were a lot of combat sections in that didn't really need to be there. I just kind of wanted the impactful fights with the actual big bad, but whatever, that's just how it is.
When you win, you do get to see it die and explode, which is satisfying, but the epilogues after that are weak. There are a lot of tidbits here, but out of everything, I mainly recall how many ex-girlfriends got credits. Imagine if every game did that. Crusaders is incredibly ambitious, and especially for an Xbox game. There's a lot of strategic depth to it and many ways to play out missions. It's a full-length game just running through all of them once. It is held back by the camera, general clunkiness, and some atrocious sound at points, but a lot of it might already be addressed in a way. There are 7 campaigns and I'm not far in, but what I've played of Heroes fixed a lot of it. The camera behaves way better with obstacles. The fighting flows a little smoother, and there's no nuclear cheering.
Nice.
Good work.
It also has custom battles in it, so there's a lot to dig into. Both the PC versions came out for $20, which is far too expensive for this kind of port. I did ask if they could put it on sale for the video, but I haven't heard back yet, so we'll see. I could recommend Crusaders in the same way you recommend like a really violent B-movie. It's violent and silly. You can't believe.
Yo, that is actually a really accurate description. It's not the greatest movie out there, but you're gonna have fun with it. If you're the type of person who enjoys these kind of things. And I would say, yeah, I enjoy these kind of things. Dark fantasy is one of my favorite genres, and this is so up my alley. You just gotta patch up a few things, make the story a bit more tight-knit, change some of the gameplay around, and yeah, could potentially be my favorite game of all time. In a different timeline, I suppose.
Leave some parts they think you'll take seriously. But you can see that this is a cool idea, and you wish they had more time and budget. But maybe that couldn't help as much as you think because this is so different. Even that comparison doesn't feel fair because this is a genuinely tactical game. It's something unique. I'm sure there's a lot of people who picked this up for the first time as a kid or a teenager on Xbox, and for them it was an awesome game. In a lot of ways they were right because the core gameplay holds up. It's just those details that a lot of people take for granted that do hold it back. You know, the idea game won't try to blow up your ears sometimes. That's it for now, but October is coming. I might have time to talk about a smaller horror game or two because, unfortunately for us all, another adventure game video is in the works. One far darker than the Druids. I'll see you then. Maybe.
I probably already watched it. I think we already covered all the Halloween ones. Man. What this game could have been.
Baldur's Gate. Yeah, but that video is a long ways out. I'm still irritated by what Beamdog did with 1. Thoughts on the buggy launch of the new Pathfinder game? I already assume new games will be all kinds of messed up, and CRPGs is like 10 times that. After Pillars of Eternity 1, I don't play games like that until they've been out at least a few months. Do you remember the first video game that you played? I actually do. It's probably cliche, but it was the original Mario Brothers, and I was playing it with my dad. He was visiting Japanese friends in their country and he saw their system there and he learned about games that way. Which is funny because they had been all over America at this point and I don't know how he missed it. But I guess I've always been many years behind with games since birth, really. How long do I—
That's really cool. I think the first game I ever played was, no, it's even before Minecraft. Way before then. What did I have on my Game Boy? Was it Pokemon Emerald? It was either Pokemon Emerald or a Mario game.
I play a game to see if it's worth the effort. If you mean on my own, unless I've been told something, usually between 2 to 3 hours. If it's for a video, I think I've played to the end every single time. Usually multiple times. Is there an era of games my brain is hardwired to like? Well, I don't know about hardwired, but late 90s and early 2000s ones are generally more interesting. The high-budget games were generally chasing unique ideas over trends. There's still cool AAA stuff now, but a lot of it does blur together. If you're not chasing the biggest budget title, I can't think of a better time to like games. Okay, until next time. Minigame? What minigame?
Wait, there's a minigame? Oh my god, there's so many things to this game. Man, it could have been special. It could have been something incredible. I need somebody to remake this. I would play it immediately day one. But yeah, thank you guys so much for recommending this one. This was an absolute treat. Probably one of the best games I've seen, quote unquote, best, in terms of just my personal preference towards gaming. It has strategy, it has dark fantasy elements, it has a cool story that probably could have been better with a few changes, but whatever. Loved everything about this, so yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.